Hello everybody, this week's episode is sponsored by Weapons Down, Gloves Up. It's a 10-week boxing programme for unemployed 19 to 25 year olds with job outcomes. Tony Bellew is a part of the company and they have recently developed an e-learning modules.
Welcome to our Weapons Down, Gloves Up e-learning programme. We're going to cover 10 modules of blended intervention education combined with sport. Our mission is to change the lives of young people and provide a direct pathway into civil engineering careers.
Hello, my name's Billy Moore. Welcome to the Billy Moore podcast, and my guest today is John Burton, aka Bomb John. Thanks for coming along, John.
You're welcome, Billy, mate.
Tell me your story and why they've called you Bomb John.
I think that was down to using so many steroids growing up. Yeah. It was either one rip or Bomb John. Yeah. And I was doing an interview with the Echo, and on the air, when we were talking, he said, "So what was with all the steroids?" I just basically said to them, I said I was using that many. I said my mates were calling me Bomb John. Never think for 1 minute it ends up in the paper 2 days later it's Bomb John. So I think everyone now up and down the country, you go anywhere, it's Bomb John. You're just getting it everywhere. I say now it's Juice Gone John. Haven't touched the juice for God years. I think I dropped about 5 stone, but
what kind of steroids were you using back then?
Anything that would fit in my arse, Billy. I think he had an arse like a pincushion. Yeah. But we were using like one rip test, growth hormone. Obviously, you start when you're younger on the naps, and then you find out that they're full of toxic stuff, and then you go on to the jabs, and then once you've had your first jab, you never look back, really, do you?
I had a little experience when I was in Thailand with steroids, just on a decker for about 6 weeks, and I remember taking them, and I was smoking methamphetamine, which was the Abbott, the crystal meth.
Yeah.
And I looked like Bruce Lee on crack cocaine. Cut up, but I haven't touched them since, like, but yeah. So, John, tell me where you're from and a little bit about your story.
I was born in Vauxhall Gardens in 1970. Well, the last 6 minutes of 1970, I'll have you know, my mum kept her legs shut. I'd been born in 71. So we lived there till we were 6, and then moved up here to Kirkdale, Walton, onto Fountains Close. Moved onto an estate there. I think there was probably about 800 houses being built on a few of the estates. Yeah. And I think that from there just basically put us in. I had about 100 people my age on the site, so it was one of them. There was nothing in Liverpool. You probably know in the 80s in Liverpool, it was just, there weren't jobs here. No, and obviously tough, it was just full of heroin, weren't it?
Yeah, that's it. That was a big... That was like a silent bomb that landed in Merseyside.
It was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
you know yourself, obviously, you've seen your mates and stuff around us, and as soon as one went on them, a few more were on them, and then the next thing you know, it was everywhere, wasn't it?
So did you have any experience, John, with taking drugs or?
Yeah, I've never touched like heroin or crack down, but I've done coke, I've done fet, I've done MDMA, I've done ecstasy. Yeah. I've smoked weed till it was coming out of my ears. So yeah, I've been in and around drugs sort of all my life, to be honest. Yeah.
How did I always wonder what went wrong in my life, because you're about similar age to myself. Yeah. Both born in the 70s, in the early 70s, and products of like the 80s. Maggie Thatcher had the Falkland Wars. Yeah. The toxic riots. I mean, we had it like it wasn't easy. Hard, it wasn't easy, and there was no jobs. Unemployment was massive. Yeah. And I think, you know, there was loads of I remember like Grange Hill.
Yeah,
Ziggy, and they were talking about
saying just say no.
Just say no,
and then Liverpool was saying nah, just say yeah.
And I remember because I lived in the South End in Toxteth, and there was a sign that said, "This is L8, strictly cannabis." Yeah. And then you had Croxteth, which said, "This is crocky, not socky."
Yeah.
Strictly smack. Mm. And it was like, "This is socky, not crocky, strictly weed." Remember that? Yeah. Back in the day. So, John, you were born in and around the north of Liverpool.
Yeah.
And, you know, what was your dreams and your goals growing up?
I think when I got to about 12, my dreams were to be a drug dealer. Yeah. Well, not so much my dreams were to be a drug dealer, but if you think about it, there was nothing else for us to do. Now, we had 3 options. The way we seen it was school and football, but we didn't go to school. We couldn't really play football, could we? So we could have gone down like a heroin route, but I'd seen firsthand what it done to my mates within the matter of a few months of them going on it, and it was a route I didn't want to take. But for the bigger guys, the older lads on the estate who were driving like nice little BMWs at the time and wearing the nice clothes, nice trainees, stuff like that, the ones who were selling drugs and making money, I wanted a bit of it. When you're living on a council estate, Billy, it's difficult, and then, you know, your mum and dad can't sort of provide everything for you, and there was three of us in our house, and you go to school, and people look at your trainees and stuff. And in Liverpool, if you've got a bad pair of trainees on, you get leathered. Yeah. You know, so when people go to school and someone comes in a pair of nicks, you were leathering them, which nowadays you look at it, it's not fair because it's actually putting people in a situation where...
It's bullying.
Yeah, and they go home, and if the mum and dad can't pay for certain clothes or whatever, then they'll get involved in something where just to get them little bits of trainees or them little bits of coats. And look now, £600 for pairs of shoes, £1,000 for coats, and our 16-year-olds, this is what they want. And at the time for me was, you know, my mum and dad provided everything we could have, but you'd always wanted that little bit more, didn't you?
Yeah, it's image orientation, isn't it? It's like, similar, John, growing up, we had nothing. Yeah. Really, we had nothing. You know, I take Strada and Gola and all that gear, you know what I mean? And Walker trackies. Yeah, you remember all that stuff, and Lacoste, it started changing. Everything was trying to go with the times, and we never had the money.
Do you know what changed the clothes in Liverpool? Everton and Liverpool playing in Europe.
Was that Wade Smiths and all that? The Adidas?
Yeah, because I remember I was there yesterday doing something down there, and I remember the first Wade Smith shop opening just off Bold Street. It just used to sell trainers. Yeah. And then obviously when fashion started coming into the city, but when we were going away with Everton or Liverpool to watch football abroad, we were going to have sports shops off, and we were coming home with like Australian tracksuits, Alessi tracksuits, Ticini, Fila. So everyone sort of round our area on our estate were walking around in Rob trackies from Germany or from France or something, and that's what it was. You go over, like, if there be 20, 30 years abroad, you'd go and find a good shop, and then 20, 30 years would go in later on and just take what you want. I used to go in and out before my sly ass and put all the mediums on one rack. And every time I'd go in, grab the rack, I'd go back to the hotel, get them all out and put one on. The lads go, how have you got all them fitting you? Yeah. I was in the shop an hour before he's putting all the trackie sizes on a hanger, and that's what we done. We were coming home, and sort of tracksuits were massive in Liverpool in them days, weren't they? So for us, Australian Fila was one of my top trackies. Ticini, just the likes of all them. They were like your football hooligan trackies in the 80s, weren't they?
Yeah, I think when I was young, I strived to own a pair of Reebok. Royale. The Royal ones, the blue ones. And I remember my mum got me a pair one Christmas, and it was the first time she'd ever bought me anything that cost a few quid, really. And I went round to everyone on our estate and showed them all. It was like they were still in the box, and I was opening the box before. It was like I was just as excited. It's not like you said. It's there's too much given to kids these days. I believe there's too much temptation. There's too much technology. You know, you're paying what Valentinos and Monclers and stuff like that. It's costing a fortune, but it does separate. It separates societies and communities.
But you look at Liverpool itself, it's a fashion city. Yeah. Everyone wants to have that certain type of clothes, or everyone wants to have, like, I went out the other week and I was in a restaurant, and there was 3 lads sitting there with the exact same T-shirt on. Now, in our day, that wouldn't happen, would it? No. You know, if someone come out with the same T-shirt, I'm not being funny, Billy, you go, fuck this, lads, I'm going to get changed. But nowadays, there's people sitting there with the same clothes on, where just because it's got a name and it's 400 quid or 200 quid. Yeah, that's half of the stuff you wouldn't wear, would you? Because I wouldn't.
The Balenciagos, or whatever they're called, honestly.
Yeah, it's not. There's a lot of them not for me, mate.
Yeah, there's not a same.
Listen, I remember getting a trackie, mate, and do you know what I saved? I think it was about 280 quid at the time, and I was going back in 1988, I think. And it was one of them trackies, and I mean, we went in the club in the night, everyone was, where'd you get that from? And we goes out in the night, we ended up getting in a rob car. Well, we couldn't get home from South Wales, we ended up in near South Wales in a party, and it was 4 in the morning. We couldn't get home, and we were looking for a car to get home, and we ended up getting a brand new Montego EFI. Do you remember them?
The Vans and Plas.
Yeah. But we had the EFI. What used to talk to you all the time in the car. Please fasten your seatbelt, and one of them. And we ended up getting chased by a Granada 4x4 Scorpio.
Yeah.
So my mates driving, I'm out the sunroof throwing bricks at the Scorpio to try and get them away.
Yeah.
And I think it took us about an hour or two. We ended up getting caught on Vauxhall's ground. But while we handbraked the car and went running, the first fence I jumped over, I got my trachea caught in a barbed wire, and it just ripped, from the top right down to the bottom. But I was walking with a flappy leg and that proper wounded me. I went and asked about getting nicked. I was sitting in a cell with a trachea thinking...
The clobber.
Yeah. And that's all that mattered to us as kids, weren't it?
Yeah, it was the same. Like a pop burn in a trachea was the worst. It was heavy.
People don't know what pop burns are nowadays.
No,
it was Rocky, bars of Rocky, weren't you? Don't even get them now, do you?
Oh, no, you don't, no.
I think everyone's on this green, and this green nowadays, mate, it's naughty. We've been drug testing people who just smoke green, and we're getting...
coming back class A's, yeah.
It's coming back opiates in some of them. So people are now mixing opiates in bags of green, where you can't do that, but when you're young, that's what happens.
See, we're living in a time, but it's spice now as well, isn't it? There's a lot of that going about.
I'll be honest with you, mate, when I first come out, I tried it.
Yeah.
I was in jail in 2012, and I was seeing what it was doing to everyone, but I was seeing how much they were putting in it.
Yeah.
And I only put a little tiny amount in and had 2 pulls, put it out. And to me, at the time when I was in jail, it was just like smoking a joint.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where probably a few months after it's come into the jail, you see the effects it did have on people, and it was proper naughty.
Yeah, I've seen it on first hand, and it's quite scary, and you can see these kids humiliating themselves and embarrassing themselves, and people dying as well. You know what I mean?
There's people getting punched in prison for a joint of
sexually
spice,
assaulted and made fun of. Well, Shazaf, yeah. So moving. So you're 12 years old, going back to 12, John, and you strive to become a drug dealer. Did you ever become one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was your what did you sell?
We were bringing coke. Well, in the early times, obviously, it was always weed.
Yeah. So
sort of 82, 83, you were just getting involved in weed and stuff. But obviously, the older lads, because the way I was, they'd said, do this for us. And when people tell you to go and move a bag and don't look in it, you're a scout. So what's the first thing you do when you get off the estate? Yeah. You look in it, don't you? And then obviously if it was guns and something, you go and have a little player, and it was 1 bullet short, and you get your ass kicked, and that's how it started. And then I started getting bits of weed and stuff, and selling weed, and just basically catapulted from this. I think one of my first good paydays was Everton.
Yeah.
Because I used to live in between Everton and Liverpool's football grounds. I was playing footy on Everton's ground, 1983, probably 83, 84, 84, 85, around that. And we were on the pitch.
Best years, yeah.
And the caretaker, like the park end then was the away supporters.
Yeah.
So we used to, like, my mate was in goal and I'd play football into the away end. And we would, as we were on the pitch, the caretaker come on, little flat cap, big long brown Mach, an old fella, and he's saying, right, get out, yous. So on the way out, and you'll know yourself, in the park end where the big blue door is, it's got a little blue door in it, hasn't it? Yeah. He's only gone and left all the full bunch of keys in the manny with the door open. Yeah. So I've looked at him like that, and he knew exactly what I was going to do. He was going, when you see something in slow motion. So I just took the keys and got off. I had one of them, them police whistles on the R ones. I had one of them on. And the next night I went back, I found the master key that opened the whole lot of the Gladys Street doors. And then I went to Stanley Park, and I never wanted to rob Everton because I loved Everton. But I had the bunch of keys, and I threw a big bunch of keys into the lake. And I've still got the key to the Gladys Street to this day. So for, I'd reckon, the last 3 games, we got caught. Well, we never got caught because we were away with it, but we was letting 300, 400, 500, 600 people a week in there. And pound coins had just come out, bobblats were out. Yeah. So I used to run to one door, fill all the bobblats, open one door, let them in, run to the other one. I had the key for the 5 doors. I'll be honest with you, with that and mines and cars, we were doing about 700 quid every home game, and that's when 1983, 84.
It's $1 million, isn't it? When you're a kid, like.
Yeah, and then The year after that, we, do you know where the Everton shop is now?
Yeah.
So that used to be a printers and a club and that there. And we were mooching when we were kids, doing little burglaries and stuff. And it gets in there one night and I've found 3 bin bags. Well, them 3 bin bags owed all the season, 400 season tickets for Everton and 400 season ticket for Liverpool for the season, newly starting. And I think we ended up with about 40 quid each on them. And I think that was our first sort of way of earning good money. And then obviously when you get to 15, 16, your weed gets a little bit more and you start selling a little bit more. And then by in my 20s, mate, I was bang into it. Just really bang into it. So it went from like all your weed in your early teens, then you get to like the late 80s and then ecstasy started popping out and obviously your first little thing to Quadrant Park, your first brown disco biscuit, that's it. That day onwards just changed your life, didn't it? And I think where it was going like in the city, everyone was going mad with the gear and all that, but then when ecstasy come out, I think it was like 5 years of just love everywhere. When if you went to a club, you wouldn't really see no fighting.
No.
You know what I mean? No. You'd be standing next to someone and you'd be like, love you, lad. You wouldn't even know who it is. And then you remember someone come up to you in the club, the first thing they say to you is, all right, mate, what's your name? What have you had and where'd you come from? That was the first 3 things anyone ever said to you, weren't it? And I think from the first ecstasy and then we started getting ecstasy, we were passing it out and we were working with a few lads who were giving us it. And then by the time you were in your 20s, we were abroad making them then. Yeah. So we were in Belgium trying to get the formulas, like making them, and we were making Mitsubishis and sending the Mitsubishis home and stuff like that. But that was the sort of your eras of around your ecstasy. And then I think it was about 1994, 95, a young girl died called Leah Betts.
Yeah, I remember that.
In Essex down that way. We were working with all them down there at the time, so the tablets we had were the same as they had, and we ended up getting rid of loads and ended up like losing so much money on it that we had to sort of start again in it. And then they started up in the jail for the tablets then, didn't they, and giving big sentences out.
I remember that. Yeah, they were getting.
So they'd gone from like little shitty sentences and then they were going up to 10s and stuff like that. So we thought, you know what, let's get out of that and get into something else. And we ended up getting into the cigarettes. Yeah. So the cigarettes later in life, in the late 90s, we were doing the cigarettes and I think we were doing about between 28 and 32,000 sleeves a day. So it was like 300-400 grand a day in paper you were getting in, and you were getting a lorry every day, 5 days a week with them in. And for us, there was too much money. There was far too much money than what we were used to. And trying to spend that money is difficult. And I think it was probably a year later, we'd made a lot. Well, I'd made a lot of money from it and put a lot of money back into the new lot that was coming. Yeah. And then ended up getting caught in 2000 with 26 wagons. They all had about 28 to 32,000 sleeves in, and 4 containers with 90,000 in each. So it was probably around about 1.2 million sleeves at the time. I'd be times them by £17 a head, where now you could probably charge £50 a head, you know what I mean? So in today's money, you're talking about 110 million quid's worth. And we were only shitty ass little kids who come from a council estate into earning big money. And like I always say to everyone, it's all right when you're earning big money, but it's how you get nicked. Because you go out and you start buying dearer clothes. Yeah. You buy dearer cars. You buy dearer watches. Yeah. And like I always say, it's not so much the police. It's people around you as well. They don't like what you're doing and what you're making. And even half of your mates will be jealous about it. Yeah. And then next minute, someone's on these phones going, oh, have you heard about blah, blah, he's bringing this in and bringing that in. But what they don't realise is it's just like a sweet grass to me. Yeah. Where you're on them phones, if they're getting listened to, you're fucked, aren't you? Yeah. And then ended up getting jail for it. I got 6 years down to a 4. And then they hit me with a £14 million confiscation. So looking at that, I was sitting in court thinking, what the fuck have I done here? Yeah. And trying to argue with them and argue the point of that I didn't evade duty by 14 million quid. And then I just stood up and the judge said, I went, Judge, I want to ask you the question. He said, okay, go on, what is it? I said, if we cross into English waters and we're in the country, I said, we've evaded duty then, haven't we? He went, yeah, of course, Mr. Burton. I said, okay, well, 14 of them wagons that were coming into the country were still in Europe. I said, so they were in France, I said they were in Holland, I said they were in Belgium, they were in Germany. Yeah. I said, so you can't really charge me for them for evading duty because they didn't come into the country. And he went, yeah, Mr. Burton, quite rightly, you're right. And I could see the prosecution's face just went, you could see him going green. And then my pocket went down to £1 million. I had lap dancing clubs, bars, houses. I just spent it on shit, to be honest. But when you're from a council estate, mate, and you've had nothing and this money's coming into your way, you're doing it. When you're sitting in the mix of a lap dancing club that you own with 30 birds sitting around, you know, when you're from here, you think you've cracked it, don't you? You know what I mean?
I think that's the mistake. I think when you're not used to money, you become, like someone used to say to me, you get funny around money. Yeah. You know, you start behaving a little bit, your ego's involved massively, and you're doing things that, you know, you wouldn't normally do. So you've got all this money, John. You've got all these little enterprises going on. How did you feel, you know, in yourself? Because, you know, I've had like similar experiences. I've had money and I've had it going on, and you know, and I felt I was always on the run, even when there was no one chasing me. Yeah. I always had to look over my shoulder. So, did you ever have that feeling that you're always like having to like keep one step ahead of the law and that?
Yeah, I think the minute you wake up, you're paranoid.
Yeah.
First thing you do is go and check your back window and your front window, and you see who's sitting around your house. You can spot. Well, at that time, you could spot plods a mile away, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And every day I used to get up, I'd be out the back window, see what cars were there, I'd be out the front. Then we'd have someone in a hotel in town who could see facing the busy station. And what they used to do every day was report back of unmarked cars coming out of there. So registrations, colour of cars or vans. And then a breakthrough came in Kirby Industrial Estate. We found out that the soccer had just done a big unit up there, and one of our friends was actually doing something inside and working, and he come back and informed us that they had 300 uniforms around, from a taxi driver to an ice cream van to something else to a gas van to a lecky van, and basically we found out soccer were just roaming around the city in unmarked, you know, legitimate vans and stuff, and it put the shit up everyone. And then that's where your vigilante and everything just comes in, and you start thinking, you know what, it's the time to start keeping out of sight, out of mind. But when you're grafting like we were grafting, there's no way you can. There's too many people know what you're doing. And I tried to keep as much out of Liverpool as I could, because I was throwing stuff to Scotland, Newcastle, Lowestoft, London, Southampton, Birmingham. I think every major city in the country, I reckon once a week they were always coming down for like 20,000 sleeves of ciggies or something like that. So we were supplying the whole of the UK with them.
Yeah, I can imagine. So going forward and that, so you've been arrested for 4 years, you got released. What happened then? Did your life change?
I got out in 2005. I was 35. I was 35 when I got out. Still had a few quid left. While you're in prison, you meet people. And I ended up meeting a few people who were doing a bit of graft here and there on the drug scene, and I ended up getting back into the drug scene, ended up getting back into the weed, the speed, and the coke, and probably MDMA, because I think ecstasies were more like shite then, you know what I mean? So we were in Spain a lot. We were in different countries doing different things, and a lot of places we had to use false passports to get there anyway, because you wouldn't dream of using your own, would you?
No.
So it was like sort of all that, but we ended up getting involved then in a porn company, you know, making porn movies. And basically, like I'll tell you now, Billy, I've put a lot of money into straight businesses with a lot of straight people who have just basically fucked up, and then when you've gone round to put it on them, they've basically just said, listen, you're on camera now, anything happens to me, I'm going straight to police. Or, you know, even when I got out, I approached someone who owed me a right few quid and just said, listen, you need to start paying me my money. He went, if you come near me or my house, I'm going to phone the police and get your licence. You've got 6 years of your licence left. I'll get you nicked and you go back for the lot of it. And I just thought, you know what, this is just wrong in every way. And these are like straight people who have come and basically said, I've got this business and got that idea and got this, brought us in, and then when you've paid the money and stuff like that, then you can see where everything's just gone wrong with them, and there's fucking a lot of them like that, mate.
There is. Did you ever think that was a bit of karma as well? Sometimes you go like, this is it, this is how it is for me, it is what it is, and this is the consequences that I've had to... You know.
Yeah, I know from, like, obviously, we be using guns at an early age and stuff as well, and we have done some really bad things to people over the years when we were growing up. I can never take that back, mate. But you know what? I hope it is karma. It bit me on the arse, mate, because I deserved it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, now I've been to jail. I've done the crime. I've done the time, and now I'm coming out and I'm putting it to use. You know what I mean? Yeah. So going back to the drugs, I was grafting from 2005 till start of 2011, and then all came crashing down. Then police going through the doors, and they ended up nicking a close family member. Basically, the close family member just told them everything they needed to know, but not so much about all the drugs, but property yard in England, property yard in Spain, told them everything. So when it come to the proceeds of crime, they found everything and knew where everything was. So for me, it was just like it's like him who grassed me up. Do we have any malice towards him? No, I did do, but now I don't, because it's him who's put me in where I am today, helping people.
Yeah.
But you don't swear on my mum's grave, mate, and tell me you've said no comment.
Yeah, yeah.
That was what done me, and I just said to him, don't fucking ever talk to me ever again. I went, I'm not asked about you grassing me up, because one, you sit in corners on your own. No one wants to know you. I said, you told everyone you didn't do it. I said, but your paperwork didn't lie. As soon as I come out to give it to my other uncle and went, well, there you go. He phoned me up halfway through it and he said, John, listen, mate, he went, I can't read no more. He was crying his eyes out. He said, it's not that I never believed you. He was telling everyone that he never said nothing. I went, well, you've got it black and white. I went, I don't want that going to anybody else. Just you can see that. And if anyone wants to know, then you can tell them. And he was crying his eyes out reading it. Yeah. But this is what happens, and I wouldn't mind what he got caught with. Wouldn't have even sent him to jail. No. He got nicked with a key of weed. It wouldn't have sent him to jail, probably to give him community hours. But then he started playing the victim then, and started saying he's being vulnerable, you know what I mean, this, that, the other. Fucking hell, what the police and all that didn't know is this fucker's been to Panama, South America and everything for me. And he gets nicked with a key of weed and fucking grasses me up. But you know what, I'll be honest with you, Billy, it was the best thing that happened to me. They took everything off me. I lost a lot. I was gutted. And up to the first 3 years of my sentence, I was coming out fucking off to Spain and cracking on again. Yeah. But I think once I went through the Cat A units and stuff like that, and I've come out the Cat A units and basically being sent down to the Isle of Sheppey in Kent. And I think watching my kids at a young age having to travel 17 hours there and back to come and see me for an hour, I thought, fuck this.
What was the Cat A units like, John? I've never experienced the Cat A units. I mean, I've experienced jail in different countries, but, you know, and I've heard a lot of stories, and I always wondered whether they were true.
I'll be honest with you, mate, I quite liked it in there.
Where was you?
Strangeways I got put in.
I've been to Strangeways. Like
yeah. Well, in the Cat A unit, there's you're not even allowed to come off the wing.
No.
So you have to stay on that wing, and you're on a book. So even every 20 days, they come and move you out of a cell and put you in another cell just for security, so you're not trying to escape. And I'll be honest with you, the Cat A, well, they potentially Cat A'd me in Walton. A couple of lads escaped from a prison van, and then lad I was grafting with, who I was working closely with, he ended up escaping from a prison van. And because the two Scousers and him had done it the same way, and this fella weren't a Scouser, he was from like down south, and because they'd done it the same way, I got the fucking blame for it all. And imagine, I've been stuck in jail here for 10 months, and they've come and ended up going in the block. They've ended up putting me in stripes. In the block in Walton, there's no electric in there. You've got a little night light. You've got a fucking wind-up radio that you'd have to wind up every 10 minutes. Concrete beds with a little shitty mattress, but there was shit all over the walls, and it was fucking horrible, mate.
This in Walton?
This was in Walton, yeah. And for 3 weeks I was in there. Because I was awake all night and sleeping every day. It was January 2012. It was freezing cold. I'll be honest with you, I just wanted to get Cat Aid or do something and get me the fuck out of that jail, because my head had gone. Yeah. I think 3 weeks in the block where I couldn't speak to my family, couldn't speak to my solicitor. I weren't allowed to engage with any prisoners. They had me locked up all day. When the prison shut at 7 o'clock, I was allowed to walk out in a yard, well, in a cage for 20 minutes. 10 by 10 cage. I was walking around that for 20 minutes a night, going in, and it was that bad, you know, where winding your radio up after 3 weeks. I had scabs all over my fingers. I had scabs all down my arms. I felt fucking minty. Yeah. My head had gone. I hadn't been able to train, just doing pad workouts. And I'll be honest with you, mate, I went in, by the time 3 weeks was coming, I was seeing things from a different angle, and I just wanted to fucking hear people who'd come in. They made me a Cat A prisoner. They come and put me in a boiler suit and stuff like that, and they blue lighted me then from Walton right the way through to Strangeways about 6 o'clock in traffic. But they didn't stop, mate. They just went right the way up. The helicopter was up, and I'm thinking, I didn't even want to escape. There's nothing that I wanted. I just wanted to do me jail and get home to me kids. Yeah. And then the police and everyone else, the Home Office, they all put this thing on me that, you know, he's got the means, the powers, the ways to get anybody out of prison if he wants to. So it's definitely him. And so I get put in the Cat A unit in Strangeways, and they've got to monitor you for a week in the block. And so the screws get you in, they strip search you. Obviously, when you get into the Strangeways, you go through the main door, and then you have to go through that, where all the dogs are, and you wait there for about half an hour, and then they'll drive you around to the Cat A part, and then you have to go through more gates, into another yard, and I've got out about 7 o'clock of the night, pitch black, but like big bright lights on you. And as soon as I've got out, fucking Alsatians just jumped up at my arm. So I'm chinning that thing just because my head's gone anyway. So I'm trying to fight with a dog and all that, and it was just fucking chaos. I gets in there and stuff. They've done all the interviews and stuff like that. He said, right, we'll let you get your head down tonight, and we'll speak to you in the morning. We're going to have to keep you in the block and just monitor you for 7 days. I went, all right, no problem. And as soon as they opened the door in the cell in there, it was like walking into the fucking Hilton. So you just come from Walton, where it was an absolute, complete and utter shithole, into like a cell that was lovely and warm. Beds was in there, it was nice and comfortable. There was a telly in there. So to me, it was just really, really good. But I enjoyed it. And I think being in there for 7 days, while everyone was sort of on the thing, I was padded up next door to Desi Noonan. So me and Desi were talking, and sorry, Damien, it was me and Damien are talking and stuff, and obviously I knew his Al fella a little bit. I'd met him a few times, and I felt a little bit at home then. And then the screws had called me down and said, right, listen, obviously you're going in with terrorists, murderers. You know, there's people here who are doing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They're not going to think twice about stabbing you in the neck over an altercation. Yeah. I think at the time I was probably about 17 and a half stone. So when they've said that, mate, I'm in my pad doing press-ups and getting in the mirror and getting angry and all that, thinking I'm walking into the fucking hellhole here. Yeah. And obviously when they've come to me after 4 days, they come, right, we're quite happy with you. We're going to put you on the, put you straight through to the unit and stuff now. I've said, all right, went back to my pad, started throwing loads of whatchamacallit, and throwing loads of sit-ups and everything out and press-ups and stuff like that. And then as soon as I walked in the unit, I'm thinking, the first one who comes near me, I'm not asked who it is, I'm just going to have to flatten it and just make a point. Yeah. And as soon as I walked in there, he heard, now then, no birds. I've looked up, here's all my fucking mates on the land, and so they were all winding me up, weren't they? So for 4 days, I was psychologically fucking loons up, ready to go on. And I've gone on there, and I've met I think there was only 17 in there when we got in there. And I think 4 of them were to do with a case I was involved in. Yeah. And I settled in all right there. I thought it was really good. And don't get me wrong, I've seen some naughty shit going on in there. And, you know, I've seen people getting buckets of boiling hot water with sugar and chocolate on it. And, you know, seeing the effects it has on it straight away, you're like, fucking hell. Yeah, but, you know, straight off the whim, it could go off like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, you know, the people who are in there, they're in there for a reason. And I met a good few lads in there, to be honest. But, you know, one thing you don't talk about in there, you go to a Cat B, Cat C, it's always progression. I'm going to a Cat B, I'm looking at getting me Cat C. Yeah. In there, no one gives a fuck because they knew they were doing a long time and just crack on with it,
I've been there, John. I know exactly how you feel about Walton Block. I was down there for a while as well. I was down there with
Billy, is it?
No, I was down there when Charlie Bronson was down there. Who else was down there? Johnny Phillips. Yeah. Jojo. There was a few lads back.
Jojo
I
Collins.
was young. I was a young kid back then.
I used to hang around with the kids, mate, yeah.
I was always down there. But John, I remember being down here, and I was in a shell within a shell.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah.
And it was deadly. There was no.
Could you smell shit down there?
Yeah. And I had nothing, John. Nothing. Like you said, I didn't even have wires up radio. And I begged the screw, can I get a book? I did a little library, in the corner. She said, look, run as fast as you can, grab a book.
Yeah.
I would have read the back of a shampoo bottle, right? Just to take away the boredom. Grab this book. Because it had a cowboy on the front, I thought it'll be a Western. Gets back to the cell. Opens it up, and it was in Spanish. And I was like, what the fuck have I done here? It was going, bosh! And he was just laughing and moved on. But yeah.
Do you know what I got in there? Out of them libraries, I was reading Martina Cole books.
Yeah.
You ever read one?
No.
Fuck me, mate, they're fucking deep.
Cardi.
And it's about, like, I was reading, read one about crime and all that. And I remember seeing a film when it come out with Tom Hardy in it. He played the main guy in The Take, it was called.
The Take, that was
so
brilliant.
I read The Take first, and then I thought, you know what, was a good book, that I'll go and get another one. Yeah. Got another one, and it was about fucking a paedophile ring and all that. I'll be honest with you, Billy, it sent my fucking head west, mate. Yeah. It was just deep and horrible, and I was sitting thinking, what the fuck am I doing reading this? But there's nothing else to do in there, you couldn't do nothing.
Plenty of time to thinking.
Yeah, I got too much time
harvest a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
So but going back to the Cat A's and moving forward, the progression, people accept the situations when they're in long-term prisons. You know, I've been in shells with people who were getting ready to get executed. Yeah, John, it was a bit different where I was. Yeah, it was they were preparing for execution. They had loads of self-acceptance, and I felt really guilty about the sentence I was serving, because it was pretty minimal compared to what they but I'd say in there was like a lifetime anywhere else. So how long did you serve in
the first one I got 4, and the second one totality probably got 19 years. Yeah. And then I think out of that I got an early guilty plea on the first one. Took me down, so I got 14 years, and then an early guilty plea on that took me down to 9.5. And then I was in the Cat A unit, me. And when I went to court from the Cat A unit, I had to have armed guards around me, still handcuffed, where they won't let you go anywhere. I think one good thing out of that is I knocked fuck out of one of them Rotherham Rochdale groomers, didn't I, in the Cat A unit in the courts.
Well done.
But I had to get him, mate, just for what I was reading about that at the time. I was just a cough for him going to the toilet, which was, for me, it was nice. You know
satisfaction.
What I mean? Yeah, fucking right, yeah. And I don't know, it was hard, and like I got to court, and I was sitting in court, everyone was around us, I'm in bloody handcuffs and all that. I get 14 years basically. My solicitor told me I'd be lucky if I get a 5. So I walks out of there with 9.5 years, which didn't warrant me to go to a dispersal because I didn't get over 10 years. Yeah. Well, the police weren't happy with that. So the next day they went and raided my dad's house, smashed his door off his hinges, done everything to my aunties, cousins, the lot, and nicked them all for money laundering. So I had to go back to the court, and I had my dad, my family, everyone in the dock, all because of me, you know what I mean? And the prosecutor said, well, we're quite happy with your dismissing John Burton out of this case now, and we'll just go with his father and the family. And the judge went, well, I'm happy with that. And I stood up. Well, I said, well, I'm not happy with it. I said, not one of these people knew what they were doing. I said, you're talking about my dad. I went, just for the record, I forged his signature every time. Yeah. I said, so you've got to keep me in this case. And the judge went, if that's the case, keep him in. And then they were throwing deals at me all day of the day of the trial, saying, you know, will you take these charges and we'll do this? And I went, no. I said, I'll take them 4 charges. I said, but them in the dock get a suspended sentence. I went, take it or leave it. If you don't, I'll run the trial today. And just as I got out of the lift, the prosecution were there and said, these 4 charges, he said, but we want to add this one, and then we'll put a deal in for the 3 of them to get suspended sentences. So I went, one of them was a grass in there as well. And I said, yeah, it sounds. I said, I'm happy with that. And it goes into court, 3:15. The prosecution passes the paperwork to the judge. You could see the judge going mad. And I thought, he's not going to have this here. And I was the only one in jail at the time. And he fucking remanded me dad and everything with me, didn't he? He said, right, you just want to do deals in court while I'm not here. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, it's 3:15. He went, remand them all in custody. He said, and I'll deal with it tomorrow. And next minute, he was fucking uproar in the court. One of my cousins was a girl. So she had kids outside waiting for her. So the judge said, all right, let her go. The others can go away. So I had to go into, because I'd been Cat 8 at the time as well, I'd already got out of the unit from the 9.5, and then I was running the other trial now. So I was deemed well enough to get to another prison. At this time, I was in Oakwood, and they were transferred me to Old Course, while the proceeds of crime went on. And I think having to watch me old fella get stripped, squatted, everything in a prison at a 60-odd-year-old man fucking destroyed me. And we never got out to our room. Obviously they put me old fella in me and then my pad. And then, to be honest with you, Billy, by the time we got in, it was 11 o'clock. And all my dad was going on about was a fucking big pen to do his crossword. He went, hey lad, these have took my fucking pen. How am I going to do my crossword now? Yeah. I said, just fill it in with your head. And I said, just keep the numbers and letters there. I said, just fill it in tomorrow. And he went, and they've got me fucking belt. So I was more worried my half fella was there. But on a way, I'd been away a few years and it was good to have a night with him. I preferred it not to be in a prison cell, but it was good to have a night with him. And I'm on the top bunk, mate. And when you wake up in the morning, you think, oh, I'm fucking dreaming. And then I've looked down there and there's my half fella in the bed. Tell you what, Billy, it was probably the worst feeling I've ever had in my life, mate. It's not nice when you got your dad's 60-odd and he's sitting in a fucking cell because of you. My half fella's worked for all his life. He's been on network rail for 35 years. What am I doing getting this man in shit? Yeah. So because he ends up going in the next day and they give them all suspended sentences, but that then warranted the proceeds of crime to take anything we had. And I'll be honest with you, for 5 years, my dad's bank accounts were frozen and they were letting him spend £200 a week out of his money. And then when the end of the pocket, they fucking took everything off him as well. To see him, all his wages, everything he's saved up for over the years, this, that, the other. Yeah. They took a fucking few $100,000 off him and it killed me. Because he didn't have nothing to do with it, me dad. Neither did my family. But like you said, when you're earning that much money, like some of your family go and have an holiday or, there you go. Didn't once for tell them to put it in the bank accounts in cash. Yeah. And that's where it all comes back, you know what I mean? But for me, I think getting nicked on that, and seeing what I put my family through, I just thought, nah, I'm not doing this no more, mate. It's not about me. I was a selfish fucker anyway. But once they nicked your family, and that's what the police do now, they'll come in, they'll nick you, and they'll nick your bird. Yeah. They'll nick anyone else who's in the house other than kids. If they find anything in the house, then you're just staying in cells for 3, 4, 5 days in the police station. And, police station cells have got to be the worst of the worst, haven't they? There's nothing in there at all. You've got a little shitty blanket, but this is what they do to get you in interviewed and try and get you to talk loads of shit and get you to put in just so you can get to jail. No comments nowadays. They don't really go good for you. And no. I'd always stick to a no comment. I don't care what anyone says. You get nicked, you go in. First thing you do is just say, listen, no comments. I've been advised by my solicitor to say no comments. And then it's for them to sort of hit you with evidence to see if they've got enough evidence to get you then, and that's where you make your decision, innit? So for me, it was just, I'd done a no comment, a few people done a no comment, and then a few people, at least one of them, family members, sung like a fucking canary. I was going to buy him a budgie cage when I got out, mate. But you know what, it is what it is. It's put me where I am today and what I'm doing now. I love my job now. So what is it that you do? What you've gone through all that experience and seen. Now, that must have been a tough one. I couldn't imagine sharing a cell with my dad. Yeah, it's horrible. And having to watch him, be subjected to having to squat and all that stuff. I didn't know what was worse, waking up in the morning and seeing him, or waking up in the morning and seeing his balls hanging out of a fucking pair of fucking boxer shorts, But he's me half fella, I love him, he's great. Just sad for him at the time. Yeah, I can imagine. And I can just imagine. So there was what changed your outlook on life then? Was it obviously that experience? And what did you want to do going forward with your career? Up to I was in Oakwood, and I think I was about 3 years into my sentence, and I had a mobile phone when I was in there. Yeah. And there was an incident went on, and a few things got mentioned, and obviously something got mentioned about someone getting killed and stuff like that. And 2 days later, I was working in the reception. I used to go in and get the prisoners and put them on different wings. If any of our lads come in, I'd try and get them with us. And if there was lads on drugs, I'd put them on a wing where they could try and get help, or, you know, it was a drug wing. So we tried to mix the stuff. And then the NCA come in, and I'm in the room with all the lads who'd just come in. There was about 15 of them. And I'm going, oh, fucking hell, is the NCA? I wonder which one of yous are getting nicked here. And it was for fucking me, weren't it?
Yeah.
So they've shouted John Burton, and I went, what do you want? So the screws opened the holding door and let me out. I went, what do you want? He went, can we have a word in the room here? I went, no, you can't. I said, whatever you've got to say now, say it here, mate. I said, because I ain't going in no rooms with you. I said, you can do it in plain sight of everyone. And he pulled a piece of paper and said, I've got a threat on her life. And I went, on my life? He went, no, someone out there. I said, but so what's that got to do with me? He went, you give the fucking order out 2 days ago. And I went, fuck off, I'm not signing nothing, mate. And then I went back to my cell. I'd never used the phone ever again. Yeah. And I just said to me mates and everyone, do you know what, mate, that's it, I'm done. I'm away from everything. I'm not getting involved in any bollocks no more. I'm not getting on no phones, not doing fuck all. Just want to get my head down, go into me jail and get home to me kids, because it frightened me.
Yeah.
Because I was on a phone in prison, and, you know, something's got mentioned. I went, I'll just go and fucking iron them out. But obviously, it's what Scousers talk like, innit? Meaning go knock fuck out of him. And he's trying to tell me that he's getting... And the people I was talking to, they all got the same warnings. Yeah. So to me, phones were getting listened to, and I just went, nah, I've had enough. And then in the Cat A unit, you'll never see a governor. If you do, he's surrounded by screws, so you'll never get near them. When you get to the Cat B, you'll probably see the odds one knocking around again. If you'd ask them a question, it's just, yeah, it's sound, I'll see what I can do. And then when I was in Oakwood, after all that fiasco with the phone and all that, I'd only been open Oakwood about 8 months or something. And I'd gone to one of these meetings because I was a wing rep on our wing, and I got up to walk out. And I remember the governor shouting, John, where are you going? I said, I'll be honest with you, Gov. I said, it's not for me, this, mate. He went, what do you mean? I said, you're all going on about how good the prison is, this, that, the other. I went, you've got a visiting room over there. I said, you've got a multi-million-pound kitchen here, but yet you deemed to buy sandwiches the day before. I said, and when we get them on our table, they said the tomatoes and everything. I said, your bread's soggy. I said, so our visitors are coming in and buying soggy butties, buying tea and coffee. And I went, like, one of my visitors come in the other day. I said, and because 2 sandwiches and 2 cups of tea were 12 quid, you only allow people to bring a tenner in on their own. I went, it doesn't make sense. I went, I could get 5 lads out of here, go to them kitchens and do a better job myself. I said, so can I go back to my cell? He went, no. He said, but I'll tell you one thing. I went, what's that? He went, put your fucking money where your mouth is. I went, what do you mean? He said, well, if you think you can change this, he went, I'll give you I said, you're going to give me the nod to go over to them kitchens and pick what food I want to give out on visits. He went, yeah, go ahead. I went over to the kitchens and spoke to the guy who run the kitchens, Simon. I said to Simon, listen, mate, I went, obviously he said, yeah, I've just had someone on the phone. He said, there's the food you can pick from. He said, let's see what you can make up. I went, I'm not using that food. I said, that's the prison food. He went, well, that's what you've got to use. I went, this is for visitors. Yeah. I said, so they should be getting better food than using the prison food. I went, so you better get on the phone to John McLaughlin now and ask him, am I allowed to use this one? I could hear him on the phone right now. I seen his face go from, he went, okay. And then he put the phone down and said, I said, what did he say? He went, whatever you want, give you. What they didn't realise is I used to run sandwich shops. I had my own sandwich shops in Liverpool before I got nicked years ago. And I got the packaging, I got the chicken, I got the beef. I priced everything right down to the pinpoint. And I had 5 lads with me. I had an Asian lad who was doing like curry stuff and halal stuff. I had an Italian baker who was the best cake baker I've ever seen in my life. And then he had 3 lads making the sandwiches with us. And I think they'd never had cakes on the visit. They never had like chicken dippers or stuff like that. And we introduced all that between our little crew. And the first visit I went on after the first few days, and I'd tell you now, Billy, you've seen nothing like it in your life, mate. We were doing like chicken riata sandwiches, chili chicken, beef and onion, cheese and onion. But one thing I did do, I lowered all the prices right down. So I said, your cheese and onion ones are 2 quid. I said, and all your salad and hefty sandwiches are 2.50. And then I started introducing like cakes, like buttercream, scones. And I seen what it done to everyone in the prison. Everyone in the prison was buzzing because we were eating decent food on a visit. But all the visitors were happy. And for me to see that, I felt like I could help a lot more people, and I seen a little niche, and I thought, you know what, this is where I could go with, like, helping prisoners' families and prisoners going out. And for how many people come to my pads of a morning at 8 o'clock with bags of grip and said, can I leave these to you till later? I went, are you fucking going home? He went, no, I'll be back at 10 o'clock. I went, why? He went, I've got nowhere to go, John. He went, they're going to give me a train warrant and 47 quid. He went, I'll be back. And I remember a few of them coming back. I said, how'd you get on? He went, so I banged some bird, fucking had a little bit of Chinese, got fucking bladdered, buttered the barman, the police come, nick me, put me back in here. He went, that's how I've got to live for the rest of my life. And I thought, nah, that's wrong.
Yeah.
He said, you can't and you know what, Billy, it's like sitting here, me and you, mate, and you got some proper people who were just coming in your pad and dropping, and then they're coming back and picking the gear up for the night time, and so they've got the clothes and don't have to get processed again. And then I'm looking at it thinking, fucking hell, mate, this is not right, this. And then I got moved to the Stamford Hill on the Isle of Sheppey. I was supposed to go there with 24 months left, and because of that altercation with the phone in Oakwood, they'd kept me there for another 6 months waiting for it. And I got there with just under 19 months left. And after 3 months, you're allowed to go out and start working. 9 months later, mate, I was still in and they wouldn't let me out. And I ended up getting sick in there. And they sent me into the hospital. They sent me in with a screw and I had an infection on my colon. But I'd lost all kinds of weight. I'd ended up going in there really ill. And I was in there 3 weeks. But the first day, the officer said to me, he said, we've had a word with Rottle. He said, we're going to leave you here. We're quite happy about you doing this on your own. So just adhere to everything. And every other day I had to go down, get my license and give it back in, stuff like that. And the day I come out, they called me into the office, me SO. And he said, I'm going to be honest with you, the police have got a marker on you. He said, they don't want you going out on any Rottles. He said, but one thing we say, John, is that you've been in hospital for 3 weeks. If you wanted to run, you could have run. He said, so phone your family up and tell them they can come down Saturday. And they give me a visit in central London, wouldn't let me go anywhere else. And I was in central London with the kids and that, had a great day out. And then goes back to the prison, gets in early enough and everything. And then they called me into the office and said, right, you're banned from London. And what do you mean, banned from London? We don't want you going in London. So again, the police have had some, because I had a lot of connections in London from when I was younger. And I ended up having to go to, Westfields in Stratford. So I had to have my town visits every 2 weeks in there. And it was like getting there at fucking 10 o'clock in the morning, and I had to stay there till 4 o'clock every day. And the screws would come and turn up in the Westfields and say, right, we're outside KFC. Walk down and see us, you've got 10 minutes. So I was walking down and seeing them, they were happy and going, but I didn't want to fuck around, Billy. I just wanted to get out in the end and just get back with my kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was difficult being all them miles away from home. And while I was in, when I was in prison there, they just got a new governor, a fella called Jim Padley, but I'd never seen him, I didn't know who it was. And I've gone on the wing one night to pick my key up, and I went to Keith. I went, Keith, can I get my key, lad? He went, yeah, go ahead, Scouse. And then as I've turned round to walk out of it, Scouse, fucking hell, mate, you sound like a Jedi. So I've turned round, Billy, and there's a baldy fella with a tweed jacket on with jumbo cords on, and I've gone, fuck off, baldy. I went, you look like a fucking Jedi. He said, look, what are them cords? And then he started having a proper bit of banter with me, and I was leathering the fuck out of him. He was having a little laugh with me. Yeah. And I was going on for a few minutes, and then I've got my key in on my way out. I went, anyway, Baldy, who the fuck are you on my wing, lad? He went, I've been waiting for you to ask that. He said, my name's Jim Padley. I'm the new #1 governor. And I just went, oh, for fuck's sake. I went, I've done it again. And he went, nah, John. He went, I'm from Manchester. He went, I love a bit of banter. Yeah. He said, I'm not going to cause you any grief over it. He went, I quite enjoyed it. He said, you're a good lad. Yeah. He said, big lad, aren't you? At this time, I was 17 and a half stone with a skinhead. I was probably one of the strongest in the jail, because I've been training all the way through, and I've trained since I was like early 20s, you know what I mean? And I said, listen, Gov, I said, I've got an idea. I said, I want to run it past you. I said, because I think you'll back me on it. He said, what is it? I went, I'd rather sit down and speak to you face to face on it. And I said, I want to change my life. I said, I'm not going on like this no more. And he went, okay. He said, I'll listen to you. He said, can I give you a bit of advice? I went, yeah. He said, you need to change. He said, because I'll tell you now, if I seen you on the street, he said, I'd fucking be terrified. And he said, you're a Scouser, you have got a fucking big mouth. I said, well, that's what we're like, aren't we? I said, we are known for it. And I said, don't worry about me. I said, when I get out of here, I said, I'll be a different person. I said, I've got 14 months to go. And he went, okay. So I went down and seen him a couple of days later. And what I'd done is I was in my pad every night. I was writing stuff down, thinking, what can I do when I get out to change? And I was writing, should I fuck off to Spain? Should I do this? Should I do that?
A geographical?
Yeah. So I was just trying to get a feel of what would be out there for me. And I didn't want to get into graft or any criminality to put me back in prison, because when I got out, I had 6 years licence left as well. So I didn't want to get in trouble, get me 6 years on that and get another sentence on top. I went, nah, fuck this. So I went along and seen him. I said, I spoke to me mate. I went to prison with a BlackBerry, so I'd never seen an iPhone. And then speaking to me mate on the phones, on my phone, on the blue phone, he was just saying, apps of the future. He went, I'm in the middle of making an app. I went, what do you mean an app? He said, if you create an app to do certain stuff, he said, you end up selling them in years to come for a lot of money. Didn't think nothing of it. And I've gone back to my pad. I'm sitting there, you've got all your paperwork out on your bed and you're still looking and writing stuff down. And I went, I've got a fucking app here. So phoned my mate up and went, have a check and see if there's any apps on any prison rehabilitation and stuff like that. I phoned him back. He went, no, fuck all. I went, all right, sound. I said, let's look into this. And then that's when I took all my paperwork down to the governor. I said, right, listen, I've got an idea for an app, but obviously I need to get out and go down to the internet cafe and stuff and do research. Now, outside Stamford Hill to Catty prison, they had facing Swales side a little prison cafe and stuff where the public could go, and a few lads worked in there. And I said, I need to be getting out. And because I started working on the vans then, dropping the prisoners off and to and from work. So I used to go out of a morning, me, Billy, at 7:30. I used to take the lads into Rochester so they could go to work. My mate, he's got a lot of businesses on Rochester High Street. So I would drop them off there. I'd go into a cafe. I'd have me poached eggs on toast, get back in the van, straight back to the prison for 9 o'clock, get in the gym till 11:30, go and get a shower, back out at 12, drop the lads off at Sittingbourne train station, get a little bite to eat there, and then I'd come back, have a little chill for a few hours, and then 4:30 I used to go out straight to Rochester. I used to park my van on Rochester High Street outside my mate's restaurant, and every night I was having a fucking 3-course meal. So I was happy. I didn't need a job because I was still all right.
Yeah.
But I just wanted me foods and stuff like that. That's all I was bothered about. And the governor gave me the thing to go down the internet cafe. So the lads were working in there, and they used to feed me every day as well. So I was happy. And what he said to me, he said, let's do what you've got to do. And he said, a few weeks before you leave, he said, we'll have a big seminar with loads of lads, loads of officers, myself, few of the governors, and he said, and we'll see what your proposal's saying. And I got in there was about 30 of them in the room or something like that, and I'd only had 2 weeks left. But the governor hadn't seen me for the best part of 9 months. And I went into the governor's office and knocked. I said, Mr. Padley. He went, yeah. He said, can I help you? I said, yeah, I've come here to do a seminar. And he went, John? I went, yeah. He went, fucking hell. He went, what's happened? I'd lost 5 stone. I had and I was just I'd got my glasses by then as well. So I just looked like a complete and utter different person. He went, I said, you did say I needed to change, and I did tell you the next time I saw you I'd be changed. He said, I'm impressed. He went, I'd never in a million years recognised you. He said, how are you getting on with everything? I said, sound. I said, we're ready for it. He said, okay. I ended up going in, doing the presentation, and I could see everyone sitting there like that going. And I was thinking, is this a good thing or a bad thing or what? And I'd done the presentation, and the governor stood up and he went, I'm going to be honest. He said, I think I'll be the first person to speak. He went, what you've just told me has just shocked me. And I was thinking, shit. And he went, that's the best idea, I said, I've seen on my desk for 30 years I've worked in the prison system. He went, 1, we will all give you the backing. He said, and 2, he went, good luck with this. He said, because if you get it right, he went, you'll take over a massive, massive part of the prison system with this. And everyone got up, give you a round of applause. I'll be honest, Billy, I was choked a bit, mate, you know what I mean? Because everything I've done in life has always been in a criminal world. Yeah. You know, these are all telling me what I could do in a straight world and what my app would do and how to see it moving forward. And I got out in February 2017. Part of my restrictions where I couldn't be in Liverpool Monday to Friday after 5 p.m. So it just left me in a bit of a pickle. So while I was sort of getting my family back together and stuff up here, I ended up living in Runcorn for about 4 months. And then as soon as I got everything sorted, I went back down to Kent. And I just wanted to reevaluate my life and stuff, because when I come out and my head was all over the place, you didn't know what was going on. And being away 6 years is a long time, especially being away from Liverpool.
Yeah.
You go to a Cat D, you can start going home, but I couldn't. I had to go to Westfields in London. And then with the restrictions, the police were making it really difficult for me to do anything. I could only have one phone, one car. I was only allowed to carry less than £200 on me. Just all the usual stuff. And because I got another sentence later on, I come out that I only had 4 months of that to do, where it should have been 2.5 years. So I come out 4 months later. By the time I'd left Runcorn and gone to Kent, I didn't have sort of other restrictions on me other than Liverpool. And then I think it was 2 years in of all the work I'd been doing with probations and putting people in work that they had to review my licence. And then February 19, they let me come back to Liverpool and sort of stay here. So since then, we've got the centre open and we just keep going from strength to strength, to be honest.
Brilliant. So what is it you're doing? You Inside Connections?
Yeah, what we do here is, one, we work with prisons. We work with prisoners in there, and we can get them out on rottle every day. So release on temporary licence, we can get lads out of open conditions, bring them in here, give them some courses to do. And, you know, if they want to go into construction, then we'll do a construction course with CSES cards. If they want to get into fibre optic and data, if they want to get into renewable energy or eco stuff, I'm only working on stuff that, one, gives living wage and above, and two, is sort of future work for everyone. I think up until just before COVID, we had, I think 45% of our workforce were all prisoners coming out every day.
What prisons in the northwest?
Yeah. So obviously your Cat D prisons, your Thorncross and your Kirkham. We had people coming out of there every day, 6 in the morning, and going back at 8 in the night, but never had a problem with any of them. All worked well. We had a big thing going on with Wilmot Dixon, and you know, there's a woman called Jane Greaves from Wilmot Dixon who I'll always be in debt to, because she was the first person who said, you know what, I believe in you. And she was the one who gave me the go, and look what we've got with Wilmot Dixon now. We're fully on national, got national coverage with them. So they've just given us another 20 odd sites in the north, where I think between 36 and 60 people are going to go through them sites on every one for jobs. So then we've got like BCEGI, and we've got companies now come on board. We're working with prisons, and you know, we've even got CEOs who used to run prisons who are working for us now. So the first few years of doing it is, oh, fuck, he's an ex-offender, he's an ex-drug dealer. And I don't give a shit what anyone says. No matter how good you're doing in life, that's always going to be stuck in people's minds. Now, if you look now, what's happening now is the last 2 years or 3 years, I've always known everyone to stay away from ex-offenders and stuff. You're getting probations, you're getting organisations, you're getting charities, and they're all calling out now for people with lived experience. Yeah. Because who can tell? Who could learn a 16-year-old better than me and you? Yeah. We've had lived experience. We know what it's about. We've seen the shit these kids have to grow up to sometimes, and a lot of people who have been in care, it's just hard for them, innit? And so I know 45% of kids in care are now in prison. And so we said, you know what, let's get it to the root of the problem. Let's get it to 16-year-olds. And we've got a care provisions now that we provide care for kids 16 to 18. But by the time they're 18, they've got all the skills, everything they need to get out and just get that job, you know what I mean? It's great working with the kids from care, because we were given a young lad from Cheshire. He was only 16, and he was the naughtiest boy on the top of the list in the whole of Cheshire. Be honest with you, when we were reading what was going on and stuff like that, we were thinking, nah, but you know, I went, no, you can't do that. I went, let's give him a chance. And he's never stayed in a provision for more than 2 days. He never engaged with the police, never engaged with the social workers, always carrying blades, getting nicked all the time, robbing drug dealers, proper little handful. But within 10 minutes of meeting him, he just opened up to us. And I went, why are you being different with us? He went, because you've been to jail. I went, no, but that's not the be and ends all of it. He went, fuck all these police and social workers. He went, don't want fuck all to do with any of them. I said, no, but if you want to play the game and you want to get on in life, you need to sort of work with us. He went, I'll work with yous all day long.
And that's, that's exactly what it is, John. I agree with it being, having an history in criminality and drug addiction and stuff like that myself, and, you know, feeling like that I don't fit in to the normal.
It plays on you, doesn't
it? Does, yeah. It affects you. I think some people won't attach themselves to the likes of my background, which is unfair. And like you said, there's a road to redemption. There's a change. We have to go through all that, you know, that traumatic experience and do things that we don't want to do and go to places.
We've had to get through that to get to where we are today.
It's and today, you know, I couldn't imagine being that person, you know, back then.
Yeah,
I'm totally different from that.
That's the same as me now. Yeah. But you look at yourself and you think, fucking hell, what was I doing? But do you want me to be honest with you, Billy? It's part of your life cycle, and it's part of our life cycle. If we were brought up in, you know, somewhere where's an upper class city or something like that, where our mums and dads had really good jobs and can afford anything, we probably wouldn't have gone down that route. But there's a lot of people like us who live in council estates and who are bringing up where mum and dads who are on drugs, or mum's just not with dad anymore, dad's in jail, and it has an effect on the kids. It had a big effect on my kids, and I'll never forget the day then Busy's come through my door. I looked at my lad in there, he was 14, and to see the look on his face when they burst that door, I'll never forget that for the rest of my life, mate. And even till now, I always think of it, because I think, you know what, if you want to go down the wrong route, you just keep remembering his face, because it won't happen. Know what I mean? It's hard, isn't it? And
it is, and that's this is why I love you know, and I'm recently been doing these podcasts, and I love the diversity, John, and I love the fact that, you know, I can speak to people who want to change, who have changed, and not people who are actively still engaging in crime. That is a big no-no for me. I'm not here to talk to somebody and give people a platform who continue to take money off out of our communities and rob our society. You know what I mean?
Look at our communities.
It's
you know what I mean?
And
this is why we've opened in Kirkdale, and for me, this place is a big part of me, this community centre, because when I was a kid, I used to play football upstairs. I used to go to St John's School here, which was just behind it. All my mates come here, and when I walked in here in I think it was March, the start of March, I'd come in, seen the lady, Sheena. Sheena's been here for like 30 years, but she was only using one room in the community centre, and she just said, John, she went, I've had a dream someone like you would walk in and just get this done, and look what we've done to it now. We've built it all up. Unfortunately, we've had COVID for 8 months through it, and we've ended up getting it all built up properly, but Inside Connections now, we're massive in London. We're doing well in Birmingham. We're doing well in Liverpool. You've got then like some Manchester, Oldham, Preston, Leeds, Yorkshire. We're getting around, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit gutted that we're not doing more in Liverpool. But Liverpool's a bit of it's a close-knit place, and there's, you know, for me, I'm getting a lot more work out of the city than I am in the city, and it comes down to funds and all, and still I always think, you know what, he's an ex-offender. And
you've always got that playing on the back of your mind.
I'll always have it, you know, it's a stigma in my life, and it always will be, and you'll always get people who will go, oh, don't be silly, that's part of life. But then you try and get in cooperative companies, the first thing, you know, you go for a job, you know, you've been to prison.
Your DBS.
Half the time, they don't want to take you on.
No.
So why do they want to take you on as a partner when they know you've had a fucking long history of selling drugs and stuff like that? It still always sticks in there, and maybe I'm being paranoid, maybe I'm not, but I don't care.
Well, you know, it's you know, people do judge, John, and that's you know, but sometimes your history can be your best asset.
Well, it's working out to be now.
And that's it. And you know what? I'd just like to. Is there anything? I always say this: looking for pearls of wisdom at the end of a podcast. What would you say to people out there who are struggling or needed any kind of guidance or advice? What would you suggest?
If it's anything that you can't get into work, or you're looking to try and do something, or you have got a criminal conviction, or you have come from care, then we care about you. Because I had someone phone me up the other week, Billy, asking me for a job, and I said to him, what convictions have you got? He went, what? I went, what convictions have you got? He went, I haven't got none. I went, well, I can't give you a job. He went, fucking hell, mate, it's the first time I've heard that. I went, I don't mean to be arsey, mate. I said, but I'm here to give lads who who are finding it hard to get a job, who have got criminal convictions to sort of go in. And I said, you know, I won't work with sex offenders or all that bollocks. I work with medium to low risk and people who need that second chance. And he went, fucking hell, mate. He went, I've never been asked that before. I went, well, this is part of life. And I got on with him on the phone. He was laughing. I put him in touch with someone and then he phoned me the next day. He said, I ended up getting a job. But I'll always help anybody. But the thing is if the more funding we can get, the more opportunities we've got. And we're working with massive companies now, not just sort of little small businesses. These are massive national companies, and we've got jobs all over the country, apprenticeships all over the country. We've got tons and tons of training going on. And even where we've got companies now, we have one company, City Fibre and Carbon 60, have just offered us 250 fully paid courses all around the country for people in different areas. And like I say to the county lines, lads, you're all happy with 300 or 400 quid in your pocket, but go working on this, it's 7 ton a week, up to the grand. What? Where'd you get that? I said, so if you want to smoke weed, you'll stay with a 200, 250 job a week, and it'll be cash in hand most of the time. You might get a job where it's small business, they don't do drug tests. I said, but all the people we're working with are multinational companies who do drug tests. I said, you fail a drug test, you're banned for everything for 5 years, cites the lot. And I don't care who it is, what background they've got, or as long as it's not like any crazy sex offences, paedophilia, stuff like that, then anyone other than them. I said, I'll be there to help them. And people phone me now, so why won't you work with sex offenders? I went, well, truthfully and honestly, none of my staff are experienced to work with sex offenders. I went, so why would I want to work with sex offenders anyway? I said,
exactly.
And you've got to do it like, and they'll say, well, that's not fair, you're just being. I said, no. I said, but you ask 95% of companies about working with ex-offenders, the first thing they'll say to you, I'm not working with sex offenders. I said, so why would I want to waste my time doing something I don't know nothing of when I've got something that I know everything of that I can do and I can help change lives?
It's a different breed, isn't it? They're a different breed. And it's, we don't even want to go down that road,
but there's my thing, Billy, is you get your normal prisoners who go in and out all the time, who you can sit there and help, no problem. But all them type of people, they've got illnesses, mate. And I say to them, how are you supposed to deal with an illness? I said, get proper people in to deal with it. You know, some of the things I've heard, and you know, changing crimes, putting burglary and robbery just so they can get in a place to live and that. Fuck that. What about the kids who live in that streets and things like that? So I try to stay away from all that because it brings too much like bad karma to you, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does.
So
how can people get in touch with you, John?
Obviously, just go on the website. Our website's got the website we've got's magnificent, and you can always get it on www.insideconnections.co.uk. Or we've now got an app on Android and Apple Play stores, and all you do is just go on the App Store and download Inside Connections. Brilliant. And you can see there's lots of courses, there's lots of stuff on there, and don't ever think you're not good enough for a job because you've got a criminal conviction. That's bullshit, man. You know, we're showing now, we've put over 200 people in work over the last year.
Brilliant.
You know, and I think at the time, I'd say 20% of that was still prisoners. And I think as soon as, we've just had a phone call today to say as soon as the prisons can get let open, can we have them back on site training? Yeah, you can, of course you can, because I'll support them all the way. And I'm one of them, me, Billy. I don't want to fuck around with people who don't want to change. So if it's someone who wants to come out and have just to go to work so we can go and have a dinner with his birds at dinner time, then sorry, mate, it's not good, because to me, you're taking someone else's place. And at the end of the day, you're having hours dinner to walk around town, whatever you do in town, and have a bite to eat, that's down to you. But don't say to me, can I go out at dinner time with me bird and stuff? Because I'll say no. You know, at the end of the day, I want lads who have got kids, who have got families, who, especially in a Cat D, they're all drug-free because they get tested before they come out. They're in there for sort of the last 2 years. They can get out to work and support the family. And I'll tell you now, every lad we've had from prison, every company we've worked with say, we'll take another 20 of them on. Said they're all being well-behaved and stuff. And I remember going on Wilmot Dixon for the first time, and we had a container put on site with all their officers. And I had 10 prisoners coming out every day and 3 from the community. And their main guy called me in and went, John, listen, you know, there's a few people all a bit like sceptical about this. I said, why, what's up? He went, well, we've got 10 prisoners who are going to be on site from Monday just walking around. I said, well, what's wrong with that? He went, well, fuck, what are they in for? We don't know. I went, them people are just like me. He went, well, they're not just like you. I went, well, yeah, they are. I said, you give me a chance, your company give me a chance to prove to you what we're about and what we can do. I said, so let's take this up on Friday next week. I said, if there's any problems, I said, we'll address it. So it goes in on the Friday, and before I got in there, as I was walking in, he had his hands up like that. I went, go on, what's the matter? He went, I apologise. He went, you give me 20 lads like that. He went, I'll take every single one of them on. He went, brilliant. He went, respectful, health and safety, everything. He said, they are magnificent, John. And I think from there we got a 2-week introduction to construction on there with a CSCS card at the end. Then all the lads went on a 2-week work experience, you know, with all the supply chain on site. Now, why I like doing it on site, Billy, is because every dinner time, them lads were going in with all the supply chain and sitting and having dinners and having a laugh. And when I goes there on the Friday of the presentation, they said, listen, I want them too. So everyone had earmarked who they want. And on that project alone, we come off on the Friday after, and they called me in the office on the presentation day and said, listen, we haven't spoken to none of the lads, he said, but everybody, there was 12 on site. One decided to stay in the prison because he had a toothache, and the 12 on site all got full-time work.
Brilliant.
So for me, it was 9 prisoners and 3 from the community all got full-time work, and it was with good companies, and you know, a lot of the jobs are still there. There's a couple of lads who have come out who are still working on it. So for me, it's giving them sustainable jobs, but living wage and above. That's what we need, because if we're putting people in minimum wage jobs, you're flogging a bit of a dead horse, because if I put someone in a warehouse on minimum wage, I know 9 times out of 10 that ain't going to cover them. And at the end of every week, you're sort of like, yeah, I can do a little bit of this to do that. Well, don't. Just get on, do your training, and go and get a decent job where you can take 400 or 500 quid home, innit?
And that's it, innit? You've got people who simply just make mistakes, want to change. Easy, and you've got people that make mistakes, continue and doing the same thing, don't want to change, and there's no willingness. So, John, absolutely incredible story.
Brilliant. Enjoyed that, Billy, mate.
Honestly, God, I did. Thank you very much. And I'll put all your social media platforms on the
and then we'll do the same for you, because I think stuff like this should be promoted, mate, because I've enjoyed it today.
Thanks.
I've done a few things with a few people and I've thought, you know what, was it worth it or what? But it's good to be with someone who's actually been there, seen it, done it, wore the t-shirt, and sitting here speaking to a good man, mate.
Nice one, John.
Well done, Billy, mate. Thank you.